Anybody who uses the Tema-Accra motorway, you would realize that almost every now and then you find cargo trucks on the road, especially at dawn. And I'm talking about even an experience I have had, or the experiences I've had over the period, as far as me using that road anytime I'm coming to work is concerned. Anybody using that road knows that as early as 4:30, 5 a.m. thereabout, sometimes you could find traffic on the road. And the traffic is not like it's some broken car or something that has happened ahead of you, which is causing the free flow of traffic. But because of the fact that these cargo trucks have taken over the road pretty much to a large extent, we have an axle loading station or axle weighing station situated along the road somewhere. And you would expect that every time they get there, once they are moving away or they are moving on the stretch with cargo, they are weighed and all of that to ensure that there's some safety. There's a reason why the axle weighing system is actually brought in, because times were when we find a lot of accidents on our road. Quite recently, I think it was around the Nungwa area, I stand to be corrected, we saw a video of a cargo truck or a trailer carrying cargo, and that cargo fell off from the truck, or if you like, the container that was on the truck fell off from the truck, and then it fell onto a Toyota Vit, one of these vehicles. Some time ago, a similar incident happened around La Paz. These are some of the scenes that sometimes we are actually met with when we are traveling along our routes in the country. But I'm just going to talk about what it should be in terms of the amount of cargo that these trucks can actually carry. And this conversation started when I was in vehicle coming to the office this morning, and this gentleman in the car was having a conversation with me because apparently around the 5 a.m. thereabouts we saw traffic on the road, and it was frustrating. It was delaying us, so we're complaining about why there need to be traffic on the road, what is causing the traffic, and it appears that the cargo trucks were quite a number, and so they were driving on each side of the road. The inner and then the outer lane, they had taken over. So if you are a saloon car, for instance, and you are moving to the office and you need to get to the office ahead of time, just as some of us, we need to get to the office latest 5 a.m. and then, you put your stuff together before you go on air. It means that you would find it a bit difficult. So I was curious to understand what was going on, but I was told that it's because of the axle weighing station. And so a lot of them had slowed down so that they could actually get into the station or the space so their cargo would actually be weighed before they move on. A lot of these cargo trucks that I saw are Burkina Faso cars because of the number plate. You see the BF and all of that. And ostensibly, they are coming from the ports in Tema. A lot of them were carrying something that looked like wire mesh. I don't know how to describe it, but it's a wire, and a lot of them quite heavy, I should say. And they were loaded onto the trucks. And so I was having a conversation with the driver who told me that the trucks have a certain limit of cargo they can carry, but a lot of the time, these trucks do not comply with the regulation in terms of the limit. So I'm here reading something. I did a bit of research as regards, the weights and the axle load limits. And in accordance with ECOWAS and UEMOA regulations, cargo is measured in metric tons. So vehicles cannot exceed an allowable single axle limit of 11.5 tons. Now, the maximum gross vehicle weight depends on your truck's axle configuration. So 3 axle trucks, maximum total gross weight is 26 tons. 4 axle trucks, maximum total gross weight is 51 tons. And 6 axle trucks, maximum total gross weight is 60 tons. So the specifications are there. But I saw a lot of them, even though I am not in the field, I'm not a technical person in the field, but I could tell as a layman that this very trailer, the amount of cargo it's carrying, it's putting a lot of pressure on the truck. It's putting a lot of pressure. And before I could say Jack, just ahead of me, I found one of the vehicles which had broken down, ostensibly because it was climbing up a hill somewhat. The place is a bit hilly. And those of you who understand or who use the motorway all the time, you understand what I'm talking about. Especially the parts where, the motorway is under construction. So there are these sections where you would have to make, meander, so to speak, meander your way. Or you take what we call in geographical parlance a recumbent, in a way. Before you join the main road, you go. I'm sure those things are done in order to slow down speeding vehicles, because you can't have rampant strips on the motorway. But certainly, if you know that you are going to have to meander your way through a certain part before you get back onto the main road and all of that, you will slow down. And this vehicle had broken down there. It had a BF, and I suppose it's also going to Burkina Faso, and with all the wire that I'm talking about. So I inquired about what the wires are going to be used for. So they are not wires necessarily, because they are thicker than wires. The driver told me that they take them to Burkina Faso Faso, and these are what they actually, so to speak, get nails out of, the nails that you and I use to nail our wooden stuff together. So they are going to use them in, should I say, manufacture nails? I'm just looking for the right word. And so they load them. But it was obvious that it had been loaded. It had been overly loaded. It had been overly loaded. And when you check the track in itself, you realize it's a single axle track. And so there's a certain limit that that track could actually load up to. Now the question I'm asking myself is, this is what the driver told me. We need to investigate further. But the driver told me that all of these vehicles are going to Burkina Faso. But I tell you what, when they get to Paga, before they enter Burkina Faso, they would unload all of this from the truck before they enter Burkina Faso, which means that authorities in Burkina Faso are doing the right thing. And he was raising questions about why we still allow them to go through the axle loading or axle weighing system, and yet you still find them overly loaded, and then they break down. They cause traffic on the roads and all of that. So we have an axle weighing station along the motorway. I'm just asking the questions. And I'm sure you listening to me out there, you've had some experiences. I'm sure anytime you travel along some of these roads, you ask yourself the question, so what are these people doing? I think it's about time we really look at our axle weighing system. I'm not here to blame anybody for anything, but I'm just asking myself the question, how did that cargo truck, how did it make it through the axle weighing system and broke down along the stretch? It was totally overly loaded. And then we found a number of these vehicles, single axle, trucks, a number of them, carrying the cargoes or the containers from the harbor. Like there was one that was carrying about 2, to the extent that the one that was behind, the last container or cargo behind it had overlapped. And I'm asking myself, who checks these things? And they have taken over the road, both the inner and then the outer. And you can't honk, because if you honk at them, nobody would mind you. They are the masters of the road. They are the masters of the road. And a lot of